Hey there, it's another beautiful day. Let's watch some stuff. Some people do stupid things. Don't do stupid things. You are about to hear my opinion. Do your own research.
Are aliens actually from Earth? What if aliens have been here the whole time, just hidden? This is the crypto-terrestrial hypothesis, and once you hear it, it kind of makes sense. The term crypto-terrestrial was first coined by writer Mac Tonnies in the early 2000s, but the idea, it's older. He proposed that UFOs and non-human encounters might not be from outer space, but from right here on Earth, a hidden, advanced species that's been avoiding us for a millennia. The theory says there's a civilization that lives underground, underwater, or in some kind of cloaked reality. They're advanced, secretive, and only interact with us when they want to. Think about it. UFOs appear and disappear in impossible ways. Some pop in and out of oceans. What if they're not arriving? They're just revealing themselves.
This has always been one of my favorite theories, that aliens aren't necessarily from other planets. They're from here. Maybe they're from the future. Maybe they're from a different timeline and they're just skipping on over, or they're reptilians living in the caves underground, and the ocean ones, I don't have something for the ocean ones. Or they live in a different spectrum of light that we can't see, and they're just tinkering with the light. What do I call them? Is it transdimensional or interdimensional? Probably interdimensional. It's a dimensional light being. And they're just tinkering with light and coming on over to mess with us or say hi. I don't know. I just absolutely love that theory, though.
The most secretive facilities are presented as normal operations. That's the cover story. It's also that simple. Everybody there is compartmentalized. The vast majority of the people in that facility have no idea what's going on in the room next to them. For the most part, told that it's, for cutting edge science. That, this is our tax dollars at work, and they're looking out into the cosmos and finding star clusters and planets that can be lived on, and neutrinos so that we can understand high and low energy systems in our cosmos, neutrinos being the most prevalent molecule out there. So therefore it's worthy of study. All of it is the pretense of studying science. But I think what most people have learned, that our government likes to double dip and triple dip, and just because they stamp the face of the program as something wonderful, it doesn't necessarily mean that's what it is. Our politicians don't take our money, do something nefarious with it, and then tell us about the nefarious thing. They wrap it up with a pretty bow and call it something to our benefit. The secondary mission is where they make their money. They're not making money off of the contract to maintain the facility. It's almost like if they low bid to get the contract, they know they're gaining access to the technology, and that's where they can now make big bucks. I mean, threatening people with an earthquake to make sure they acquiesce to your demands is certainly a valuable weapon. When you say what's going on there, what's really going on is you have a whole bunch of compartments of scientists that are told you're very important. Your project is the most important project, and everyone is here to support you. I would walk into a room and just basically be like, hey scientists, tell me about all your smarty pants stuff that you're doing in here. And they would pontificate about how amazing they are, how amazing their project is, and yet they would have no idea what's going on in the room next to them, and their ego didn't allow them to ask any questions because they figured that was a lesser project.
So they basically instill ignorance, which leads to plausible deniability. They think that they're so fantastic that it doesn't matter what anybody else is doing, so you don't ask them. And everybody's compartmentalized and thinking in their own little bubble that they're the most important, and then they just don't communicate with each other, and then they don't know what's going on, and they'll be like, I don't know, it's just what I'm doing. Look at what I'm doing. And as far as funneling the money, and that's probably the only place that I'm concerned about Doge, are they going to be taking money out of these special projects that are like backwards engineering alien tech? I mean, it doesn't cost $16 million to make a single jet, so that's probably where they're able to siphon off the money from.
Or is it just a technology that allows us to do very precise genetic editing to fix small genetic problems within cells in a very cost-effective and time-effective manner, right? So if there's a defect in a gene in a cell, you can, using the CRISPR technology, can cut out that defect and replace it with the proper sequence, right? And obviously there's ethical issues if you're using these on human embryos, for example. But in this case, this is they're taking cells from an adult person. They have a defective gene in them. They fix that with the CRISPR technology and then take the cells that are fixed and put them back into the person's own cells. So now they have cells that are able to produce the hemoglobin, produce proper red blood cells, and hopefully cure the sickle cell. So it's a great, advance. And I think there's other things that this technology will be able to do to fix and help people with certain genetic disorders.
Wow. Yeah, we're talking about CRISPR again. If you don't know what happened, just hang tight. Something crazy happened, and it's crazy. But I think it's great that, they can use it to help people, but we're not thinking about what caused these people to have these issues. Because did we have these issues forever and a half ago? No, things have changed in our timeline that have created issues with people that now we have technology to correct. But that's not all it's being used for.
After 3 years in prison, the scientist who was arrested for creating the world's first genetically engineered babies is set to be released soon. In largely secret research, Hay used a genome editing technology called CRISPR to edit the DNA of human embryos. The embryos were then implanted into 2 women and led to the birth of 3 so-called designer babies. This led to a huge ethical debate in the scientific community, as some expressed outrage over concern for the baby's health, which we still don't know, and others saw it as an opportunity to push forward in research into editing the human genome. Critics say the technology is playing God and could lead to eugenics as well as unintended health consequences in the babies, but proponents say that it could be used to eliminate disease-causing mutations before birth.
So that particular clip was 3 years ago, which means 6 years ago is when these designer babies were created. And they're being kept hush-hush, and they've been kept hush-hush, and I can't find anything on them, whether they're healthy or if it was successful. All we know is that it happened, and it can continue to happen. And I think since then, we've been a little bit more yeah, we can do that. Why not? Because we did this.
Jurassic Park, more like Jurassic Bark. The first ever animal to be brought back from extinction is none other than the dire wolf. A company known as Colossal Biosciences created 3 pups over the course of the last 6 months. The pups are 2 older males known as Romulus and Remus, who are around 6 months old, and the younger one, Khaleesi, who's around 3 months old, and she's a female. This is a huge milestone for science, proving that de-extinction can be done, at least in a somewhat roundabout way. You see, these guys are technically gray wolves, but with many of their genes replaced with those of the dire wolves. That being said, I believe they're working on artificial wombs, which would allow them to produce 100% genetically distinct dire wolves in the future. These de-extinct dire wolves are already exhibiting some of their prehistoric traits, including their size. At 6 months old, they're already over 80 pounds. This is an incredible step forward for de-extinction projects and really gives us hope for the future. These 3 are the rebirth of a lineage that went extinct nearly 10,000 years ago, and that is absolutely brilliant.
Now, clearly, I believe in evolution, and I believe that species go extinct for a reason, and it has to do with predators and prey. And now that we're here changing all this up, we're bringing crap back that was supposed to not be here for a reason. And we're going to bring other stuff back because why? I don't know. It's freaking ridiculous, I think. I think it's very irresponsible. And in the words of the beautiful Jeff Goldblum.
Oh, yeah. Ooh, that's how it always starts. But then later there's running and screaming.
31 trillion is the on-budget debt. The off-budget debt, the unfunded liabilities are well over $100 trillion. And when I say unfunded, I'm talking about the promises of spending that politicians have made off into the future. The best example of that is future benefits for Social Security. Flat tax does not solve the problem of an income tax situation, because a flat tax is still an income tax. You still have the invasiveness of the Internal Revenue Service associated with a flat tax. Cannot have income tax and freedom coexisting in the same society. One must necessarily drive out the other. My question is, which one are you willing to learn to live without? I say, let's learn to live without the income tax.
So yesterday, my cousin Erin sent me this and suggested perhaps, our little community would like to take a look at this information and see how these unfunded liabilities would actually affect the national debt. Now, you all know that economics is not my strong point. However, pacifism certainly is. So here's what he had to say. That's interesting. So a lot of this money that we are like paying out is not being recorded in the federal deficit. And it's a lot. It's like between $1 and $200 trillion, which is a lot. Yeah. So I am pretty open to suggestions of stuff that you'd like to see on this channel. And if you have a suggestion, even if it's not in my wheelhouse, I'll do my best to get it into an upcoming episode. So please let me know in the comments down below if there's something you'd like to see. And if you haven't already, please hit that like button and consider subscribing.
What if I told you a parasite might already be inside your brain controlling your thoughts, and you'd never even know? You wake up, go about your day completely unaware that something might be inside you, controlling you, influencing your decisions, making you take risks you normally wouldn't. Sounds like a horror movie, right? But this is real. Meet Toxoplasma gondii, a tiny parasite with a terrifying ability. It hijacks the brains of animals, removing their fear. Infected rats don't run from cats. Instead, they're drawn to them. They walk right into their own death, all so the parasite can spread. Scientists believe it affects humans too. Some studies suggest that people infected with this parasite may become more reckless, impulsive, even aggressive. It's even linked to a higher risk of car accidents and mental disorders. And the scariest part? Nearly half the world may already be infected without ever realizing it.
That makes me think of the movie The Happening by M. Night Shyamalan, where there's a wind that blows and it goes something into their brain and then they remove themselves from the gene pool. That's pretty much what that makes me think of. I wonder if there was a correlation in between the two. Like if this is just a story that was made up after the M. Night Shyamalan movie, or if M. Night Shyamalan took this information and created the movie, even though in the movie it's something from the plants that goes in the brain and makes them go all around. Still pretty cool.
Ever driven to your destination but then realized you don't remember parts of the journey? Welcome to the intriguing world of highway hypnosis. In just a minute, let's delve into this common yet mysterious phenomenon. Highway hypnosis, also known as white line fever, occurs when a driver travels long distances, seemingly on autopilot, with no conscious recall of the miles passed. It's like your mind takes a back seat while your body continues to navigate. This trance-like state is believed to result from the monotonous nature of driving on long, uneventful roads. Your conscious mind drifts away while the subconscious takes over the wheel, so to speak. It's a form of divided attention, where you're able to perform routine tasks without full conscious awareness. But here's the twist. While it sounds alarming, studies suggest that during highway hypnosis, drivers can still respond to external events, like the brake lights of the car ahead. It's as if part of your brain remains vigilant, ensuring safety despite the mental zoning out. However, don't get too comfortable. Extended periods of inattention can lead to slower reaction times and decreased awareness of hazards. It's a reminder of the mind's incredible ability to multitask, but also its limitations. So next time you hit the road for a long journey, remember the mystery of highway hypnosis. Keep your mind engaged, take regular breaks, and stay safe on the road.
Once upon a time in a previous life, I drove truck and I would drive sometimes 11 hours a day. And I don't remember that ever happening. It was the shorter trips that I completed more frequently, like between my parents' house and my grandparents' house or something like that, or my house and my parents' house. It was those little trips where I'd lose a mile or two and I'd be like, oh my goodness, here's my exit. But never on like long new roads, always on the trips that I was familiar with. Maybe my brain's like, oh, we've done this before, we're good.
Oh, so you thought what was discovered under the Great Pyramids was a one-off thing and we were going to be done with it? Well, guess again, because what was just discovered under Angkor Wat in Cambodia might just blow your minds. And if you guessed the exact same structures that are underneath the pyramids, well, then you guessed correctly. Because yes, these scans have indicated the exact same type structures underneath Angkor Wat in Cambodia. Now, here's the thing. Some suppressed scripts have been translated stating that Angkor Wat was never built for religious purposes. It was in fact grown by an advanced race known as the Star Kings. We're not going to go into that in this video, but here's the other thing. It also states that Angkor Wat is one of 4 world engine sites. One of 4 meaning Angkor Wat, the Great Pyramids, Teotihuacan, and a site that's submerged under the coast of India, off the coast of India. Now, these world engines were meant to ignite during a cosmic alignment, therefore opening a world portal to what is below. I don't know what's below, but I think that's fantastic. Now, these also were supposed to allow everlasting world energy throughout our entire world, as well as transportation and healing. So I find this to be absolutely fantastic news, because I believe in the days to come, or at least the months to come, we're going to find out that all these religious sites aren't religious sites, but they're portals. Portals to something beyond our own thought process. Now, tell me what you think. Have you heard this? Drop it in the comments. Remember, I'm not here to tell you to believe one thing or the other, so leave what you will, take what you want. It's up to you. And anything we talk about is for entertainment, education, and learning purposes only, but I want to know what you think, because I think a lot of you skepticals are going to be believers soon.
This is all brand new news to me. I mean, of course, we know about what's going on under the pyramids. If it is actually going on, we don't know. But there's other places where that's happening too. World engines? What? Because we don't really know what's in the center of the earth because we've never been there. I mean, we can guess scientifically based on the science stuff that we know. But here's where my conspiracy brain goes crazy. My conspiracy brain is going crazy with these possibilities. Now, if those sites actually are, a thing and we're going to learn some new stuff about the planet, that's absolutely fantastic. But at the same time, it's terrifying because we don't know what the hell's going on. But it's just a matter of time before all of this gets put on hush and swept under the rug because we're not allowed to know what's really going on with our planet. Just kinda.
Fluoride should not be in our water. Fluoride had a strong justification in the 1940s when it was added and people didn't understand the science and they thought its benefit to our teeth was systemic. By drinking it, it would enter your body and somehow protect your teeth. Now we know that there is no systemic advantage, zero systemic advantage, and that the only advantage comes from topical application. So it's the water that passes through your mouth. You can achieve that benefit from brushing your teeth. And in the era of fluoridated toothpastes and mouthwashes, it makes no sense to have fluoride in our water. The evidence against fluoride is overwhelming. In animals, in animal models, and in human models, we know that it causes IQ loss, profound IQ loss, and it's dose-related. So if the more fluoride you get, the higher levels in your drinking water, your urine, the more likely it is you will lose IQ and also other neurological injuries like ADHD. It affects, science indicates that it affects kidney health, it affects liver health, that it causes hypothyroidism, that it causes osteoarthritis. Women who are more exposed have up to 50% more hip fractures than women who are unexposed. It causes fluoridasis in between 40 and 80% of our kids. It makes no sense to have in our water supply. And I'm very, very proud of this state for being the first state to ban it, and I hope many more will come.
So remember when fluoride in the water causing bad things to happen was just a conspiracy theory? No, it was a spoiler alert, and now they're finally like, hey, we don't actually need to do this. I know there's a lot of people that are mad because the dumbing down of our generations is coming to an end finally, and Utah is leading the way. Way to go. This is going to continue, and it's going to be a good thing.
Asteroids with a chance of hitting Earth might now hit the moon instead.
Now, when you brought this up at the beginning of the episode,
yeah,
you said, did it change? It might have changed trajectory.
Yes.
I'm wondering if we just haven't orbited around enough for it to get placed in the trajectory of it. Kind of like we moved in a way that now the moon is now the piece in between us and the asteroid.
Well, here's the story. So earlier this year, asteroid 2024 YR4 gave astronomers a mild existential crisis when it was pegged with a 1 in 83 shot of smacking into Earth by 2032. That risk later increased to 1 in 32, causing more than a few astronomers to choke on their coffee. But after some upgraded telescope peeping and trajectory math, the threat to Earth was now downgraded to effectively zero, just 0.001% chance of impact. However, now it's the moon that might be in the asteroid's crosshairs. Latest estimates show a 3.8% chance that YR4 could smack into our favorite space rock. I don't know about everybody's favorite space rock.
It's definitely not mine.
I like them. I like Mars, but
mine's Titan.
Oh. YR4 is about 200 feet, 60 meters wide. No moon-shattering kaboom, but big enough to make a flashy crater. NASA says it won't affect the moon's orbit and won't send debris raining down on Earth.
That's just for peace of mind.
For sure.
It's going to destroy everything.
You know it. Everything's going to be fine, guys.
Send up drillers from
Meanwhile,
North
the
Dakota.
director of NASA is like, how far from the rocket?
Yeah.
There's a 96.2% chance it misses everything. But 3.8% is still way spicier odds than a Vegas slot machine. So let's not panic.
Now, all I can think when they're talking about this thing hitting the moon is what kind of crater is it going to create? Because all the craters up there are super shallow because of the theory that the moon is solid, right? And it's it's got a solid shell and it's hollow on the inside because it's like a spacecraft that was brought in forever and a half ago, and now it's like some kind of like observatory. Is it gonna penetrate it if it does hit? And if it is supposed to hit the moon, how hard are we going to try to prevent that from happening? Because there may be secrets released in that particular event. I don't know. I'm curious to see what's going to happen leading up to this event, if it's going to increase in odds that it'll hit the moon, or... I mean, next week there's going to be some new revelation and it's going to have a different trajectory, so yeah. But for now, that's definitely what I'm thinking.
The missing people and the national parks conspiracy. There's a chilling theory that thousands of people who go missing in U.S. national parks every year are victims of something far more sinister than simple accidents. Despite the vast number of cases, there's no centralized database tracking these disappearances, and the National Park Service (NPS) remains strangely tight-lipped about the subject. Some researchers and former investigators believe that these vanishings are not random. Theories range from secret government experiments to something even darker, hidden underground facilities, unknown predator species, or even interdimensional rifts. One of the most disturbing patterns is that many victims are found, if they're found at all, miles away from where they disappeared, sometimes in areas nearly impossible to reach without proper gear. Even eerier, some are found barefoot with no injuries to their feet, suggesting they were transported by something or someone. The government's refusal to release detailed information only fuels speculation. Why would they suppress details unless they were hiding something? Some whistleblowers claim that high-ranking officials know exactly what's happening but won't reveal the truth to avoid mass panic. Is something lurking in the deep wilderness, preying on those who wander too far? Or is there an active cover-up to keep people from knowing what really happens in the uncharted corners of the world? One thing's for sure: if you ever get lost in a national park, don't expect the official story to tell you what really happened.
So I have this theory that if you stay on the trail and don't go wandering into the national park, you won't have to find out. It's pretty simple. Just don't go. Don't go. Don't go.
Leaked Russian KBG footage of alien being.
I don't believe I've seen that before. Did you catch the eyeball? That was pretty cool. Maybe it's just a really good fake, but I don't think I've seen those images before. I know we've seen some like it, but not those ones in particular. The eyeball. That's crazy.
Donald Trump's so dumb, he put a tariff on penguins. What if I told you you have no idea what you're talking about? Did you know that in 2018, when the United States imposed tariffs on China during the 2018 trade war with China, that many Chinese companies took strategic action to relocate and expand those companies into third-party nations in order to avoid or circumvent paying those tariffs, and thus keeping their access to the US market. So here's what went down. To avoid the higher costs that the United States imposed on their tariffs to China for all of their made-in-China products, many Chinese companies moved their manufacturing facilities to third-party countries, where those Chinese products would not be imposed with the tariffs placed on China. And you're going to be surprised to know which countries they moved their production to. Some of these countries include Thailand, Malaysia, India, Vietnam, and Mexico. These companies offered China lower costs for labor, growing their industrial capacity along with...
Yeah, I had to bring up a little bit of politics because people are absolutely going crazy on TikTok about these tariffs. Going on these islands where there are penguins, and there's the reason why. So chill out, take a breath, hold the line. Everything's going to be fine. Oh, here's one of the silly penguin videos, just because.
In response to Trump's tariffs, we are announcing retaliatory 25% tariffs effective immediately. We may seem cute, but we are a proud and powerful nation. Our domestic industries are world-class. We are not reliant on trade. America only exports garbage that makes our people sick. Do not test us. We have one of the most powerful and growing militaries around. Within 5 years, we will achieve nuclear power. So watch it, Orange Man. If you want a trade war, you've got a trade war.
Yeah, people just don't get it. It's not penguins. It's what happens on that property so that there's no escape from the tariff. All right, let's continue with our alien abduction story.
Hung up on them. I didn't know how did they find it out. But then the telephone rang again. It was Fred Diamond, the sheriff. And I said some bad words to him and told him that a news reporter had already been trying to contact him. He said, well, I don't know, Charlie, how I got out of this all, but it got slipped out somewhere. So by that time, that day, it was all over the world. My oldest son was, he was in the Marine Corps, he was in Vietnam, but he was in Okinawa at that time. And they had it the next day in that Sergeant's type paper you'd get over there. So anyhow, we went down to the shipyard and I couldn't work. So news meter you wouldn't believe was coming to that shipyard. Well, somehow the word got to Dr. Alan Hynek and Dr. Jim Harder from Berkeley, and Dr. Alan Hynek from out of Chicago. They came down here the next day. They wanted to talk with us and hypnotize us. But meanwhile, let me get a little bit ahead of my story. Meanwhile, that day that we was down there, and I got to think, what if we had radiation? I didn't with my family and other friends, so I brought that up. They carried us over to the Singer River Hospital, and they didn't have they didn't have the facilities to check us for radiation, but they called Keys Air Force Base, and they told us to bring us over there. So when we got over there, we had an escort there waiting at the gate, and they had cleared the entire area. You couldn't see anybody. And we went to a conference room, and that's right here, they interrogated us, checked us for radiation. And they thought they found a little radiation on the cabin, but I don't guess they did. But anyhow, we came back, and it was that next day then that Dr. Hiner and Dr. Hardy came down, and they put me under hypnosis, and Calvin, and they had come to the conclusion that something had happened to us. Well, you wouldn't believe it was a madhouse here for 2 or 3 weeks. We couldn't sleep, we couldn't eat, And every time that we look, somebody trying to interview us, and then a little bit later on, they want me to take a polygraph test. So I got off work that evening, and I went to the sheriff's department. They had a polygraph examiner there, and when he took me back there in the room, and he told me, he said, "Now, Mr. Dixon," said, he was going to prove me to be a liar. See,
I am pretty surprised that I've never heard this story before, especially when he said that it spread worldwide so fast. And I'm super excited to hear how this polygraph goes. We're going to have to check that out on Friday. There's 2 parts left. But for today, I'm calling it. Thank you so much for sharing your time with me. Please come on back in a couple of days. We're going to watch some new stuff. I'll say different things, and it's going to be fantastic. Until then, have a wonderful day.